Hello traders, Cousin Penny coming to you from theclosingprint.com, Sunday the 23rd of March, 2025. After a volatile week, markets rallied to end the week and the quarter, closing at the high of the day on Friday. Looking forward to April 2nd, tariff deadline, the news that Trump was flexible to tariffs pumped the markets. That leaves us with 8 bullish indicators, 5 neutral, and 7 bearish, with the latter signaling a need for continued improvement in breadth and for sectors to show some rotation going into the next few weeks. Finishing up on Friday with the markets moving higher after 2 weeks of volatility and a higher close on day 10. We still need to get above 5,700, but with Trump signaling he was flexible on tariffs, volatility getting crushed, and the majority of our indicators either bullish or neutral, we'll be looking for breadth to improve and for the New York FANG components to push back above the 200-day moving average. RSI needs to rally. That would signal and confirm strength of trend is improving. As we look for stochastics and MACD to continue with its momentum shift and for a further crush in volatility to aid with the Q's return back to its 200-day moving average. If we can get out of this base and volume can pick up this week, MACD and stochastics are set up for a follow-through in addition to RSI, which would improve as strength returns, as we need to see more stocks participate and breadth improve. For now, the S&P 500, mid caps, small caps, and the NASDAQ in descending order all show that breadth did deteriorate a little bit on Friday. However, we're looking forward to a bounce this week. The S&P Equal Weight Index did show a bounce and buyers at the low of the day on Friday. However, we need to get above the 200-day moving average, and the stocks on the left need to see some improvement. I will say that call options are fairly cheap, so buying 1 month out of the money calls, looking for these stocks to lead the markets higher as options fill in for the new OPEX in April. This is a chart of junk bonds with the 50-day moving average just overhead at 96.30. If we can see a follow-through, what started on Friday, buyers at the low of the day, could push us back above Wednesday's high and then above the 50-day. That would be a bullish indication for a potential bullish follow-through in the equity market. In addition, the 10-year yield has been pretty much range-bound for the last 2 weeks, going on 3. With Bollinger Bands tight, we're looking for a direction from the 10-year. So far, at this point, we're neutral, which leaves the bonds also in a range-bound condition, sitting right below the flat 200-day moving average, which leaves us with a neutral signal from the Treasury market. We also see a neutral signal from the US dollar down below its 200-day, with the 50-day pointing down, with a potential bearish cross in the short term, as precious metals saw some profit taking at highs on Friday. Gold and silver were lower. Concurrently, we did see copper higher. That's good for the economy, a leading economic indicator. That's showing much needed improvement for construction-related stocks. And finally, we've got crude oil and gasoline products in the bottom of its range that we've seen for the last 2 years, with the potential to start rising, currently giving us a neutral signal. Overall, bonds, currencies, and commodities are neutral as volatility continues to contract. We have some improvement in consumer discretionary, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and financials last week, so we're looking at some of these stocks on the IBD 50 for a follow-through into Monday trading. ADMA Biologics has been on the IBD 50 for a couple of weeks now. It is trending We had a 20-50-day cross last week. This is a late-stage biopharmaceutical company that develops, manufactures, and markets specialty plasma-based biologics for the treatment and prevention of certain infectious diseases. We can see that it has above average earnings growth and revenue growth potential. It did miss last time around, but it doesn't report again until June. That said, the stock is bullish. We do have a 20-50-day cross, so we're looking for a follow-through this week. Alignment Healthcare, another name from this sector, trending with double-digit earnings growth and revenue growth. All four metrics are green. Whenever this is the case, I'm always looking for stocks that have nice bullish trends. 20-50-day rising, RSI showing strength of trend, and MACD, stochastics both showing momentum is bullish. We have volume indicating that institutions have been accumulating shares, not selling like we saw over here in November. Another healthcare-related name, Alkermes, squeezing, 50 days coming up to meet price, RSIs above 50. Volume well above average on Friday, MACD and stochastics turning. Another stock from the healthcare group, a biotech, triple-digit earnings growth, double-digit revenue growth. So we're looking for this volatility to expand once the stock breaks above recent highs, if you're bullish, or a retest of the 50-day in the short term. But the 50-day is starting to rise up and to the right, while volume is showing that institutions were picking up shares and perhaps some shorts covering as well on Friday. Look for momentum to continue with Alkermes showing up again on the IBD 50 this week. Arcutis Biotherapeutics, another company with outstanding revenue growth and earnings growth. Look for Arcutis to follow through this week. Trend very bullish, 20-50-day cross. Looking for a follow through in the weeks to come. Looking for a follow through in the weeks ahead. CPRX, nice follow through last week. Came back to the 200-day 2 weeks ago. Continues with a bullish trend with double-digit earnings and revenue growth. A commercial stage biopharmaceutical company commercializing novel medicines for patients living with rare diseases. Yet another biotech pharmaceutical that's showing strength in recent weeks. TG Therapeutics been on the IBD 50 for several weeks, trending higher as price action broke above the 50-day moving average in the last week of February. Momentum has been very bullish. Volume looks good. MACD stochastics rising with earnings growth, triple-digit revenue growth, 146%, earnings growth, 266%. The company is outstanding in its commercial stage biopharmaceuticals, focused on acquisition, development, and commercialization of novel treatments for B-cell diseases. So we're looking for TGTX to continue this trend that started in February, breaking out, showing potential for follow-through into April. Apple, one of the big tech companies, announcing buybacks in recent weeks, along with Alphabet, Google, and NVIDIA. Looking for these stocks to continue with a bounce. Relatively inexpensive call options, about a month out, will be something I'll be looking at doing this week. With these stocks basing near 52-week lows, looking for a bounce. In the case of NVIDIA, this move signals a strong confidence in the company's future earnings growth and underscores management's belief that NVIDIA shares are currently undervalued. In addition to tech, we also saw financials moving higher last week. JP Morgan looks like it's going to continue. RSI is showing strength of trend. Volume indicates institutions were buyers, MACD and stochastic showing a primo setup when they turn from these levels. Look for a follow through in JP Morgan, Wells Fargo. Same condition, rising back to the 50-day, volume showing institutions picking up shares, stochastics and MACD turning, and RSI showing strength of trend. Morgan Stanley also bouncing off the 200-day moving average. Volume, with the exception of Friday, has been looking very strong. MACD and stochastics, same condition. Above a major moving average. Long term, the 200-day is telling you that prices could and should continue to move higher. Goldman Sachs, very similar look to the others in the group. Volume showing institutions, MACD stochastics, same identical look. Momentum is shifting. In addition, whenever you've got all of these stocks in a group moving together, that gives you a higher conviction on a bullish trade in this case, looking for RSI to continue showing improvement and for prices to move back towards the intermediate 50-day moving average just overhead. Tesla also showing potential as this base is forming for a rise back to the 200-day and the 50-day moving average. MACD stochastics turning, volume indicating institutions were accumulating shares along with shorts covering on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. RSI showing strength of trend is starting to improve. We're looking for Tesla to continue higher this week. Okay, traders, this is going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on Sunday, the 23rd of March, 2025. I'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast, so be sure to check your inbox for that. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.